Rhythms and computers.
The Zestimate you're referring to, huh?
Well, among others.
All right, great stuff. Great to have you here, Guy. We are also streaming this program live. The video and audio can be seen and heard at mrcredit.tv. First topic of the day, and this is really important, not just to San Diego, but to the overall economy of this country, because the dynamic of home ownership and owning real estate is changing right before our eyes. Today's first topic not only involves the real estate market, but basically the effects of a changing real estate market on the overall economy. A lot of people think it's real estate that's holding back the entire U.S. economy from hitting on all 8 cylinders. You know, we've seen that when real estate is doing really well, the economy is doing really well. And now people are looking and going, well, the economy's not doing that well. It seems to be kind of stalled. And real estate seems to be kind of stalled. Now we're talking macro, okay? Talking about the country. What I believe we have to look at is the transformation of how home ownership, right, is viewed by the next generation of home buyers. Because what we know is, if the demand is there, the infrastructure exists to build, finance, and sell these homes. So that's not the problem. The question is, where's the demand, right? That's always going to be the question. We have the infrastructure to create the homes and sell the homes, transact. That's all there. We can handle way, way more than what's going on from that perspective. So the only thing that really matters is the demand. Now, in the past, you could rely on population growth to drive that demand, pretty much. If the population was growing, the number of homeowners or home buyers, potential home buyers, would also be growing. But this new generation might see things differently. And this article in CNBC.com, they reference an annual survey of millennials, people who are now of the age of 18 to 34. I'm one of them, by the way, although I have a very old soul. Now, they asked these people what their top financial goals are. And the numbers are clearly trending toward retirement savings as being the priority versus owning a home, which tells me that there is a disconnect between those two things because they should be one and the same. In fact, the cornerstone of your retirement strategy should be to own a home. And that is not being disseminated clearly or absorbed. I mean, and of course that's arguable, I suppose. But if you want to control your costs in retirement, the only way you're going to be able to do it is if you own a piece of land yourself and you own a home yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be blowing around in the wind of whatever the rental market is. So there's a disconnect there. So this new generation of what should be first-time home buyers who should be fueling the demand to drive the real estate machine, which would then drive the United States economy, don't seem to be there. And a lot of these people, the boomerang generation, whatever you want to call them, they're living at home. Some of them have just deprioritized. They're doing well, but they just don't buy real estate. It's just not, it's not a top priority for them. They're cool with renting over here one year, renting over there the next year, going to another cool spot the next year, and it's just not a priority. So based on that, Guy, would you say that you can understand where I'm coming from with that, or does that make sense?
It does make sense. Real estate should be the cornerstone, but I think maybe what you're sort of touching on is that attitudes have changed, and like I sort of think of the 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss's book, right?
Yeah.
He talks about the new rich, and it's more of a lifestyle rather than reality.
Yeah,
it's sort of how I look at it, and maybe this has some sort of impact on it. But it is important to own real estate, early on and long term. And perfect example is a gentleman bought a home recently. He's in his later years, in his 60s, never owned before, but he saw the importance as he reached retirement that he needed to fix his expenses.
There you go.
And so he was able to go out and buy a property for cash, by the way, and then stabilize that as he retired and went into his later years.
Is it too boring for the iPad generation? The idea of buying a house and being in one place for a really long time? Do you think that might be it, Melissa?
Well, I also thought about the 4-hour work week because there's
Did
a
you?
lot of talk about the perspective of that mentality of just having more free time to travel. You don't have to have a Cadillac, a Mercedes, a mansion in order to be successful. So it's kind of this nouveau riche perspective. But at the same time, I also thought about the 2013 member profile for the National Association of Realtors, in which they said that the average home buyer is 31 years old. So
Interesting.
despite that, what that article says, there at the end of last year, the average home buyer was 31 years old.
The average home buyer or the average first-time home buyer?
I believe it was the average home buyer.
Interesting. I would love to see that data because I would like to see how that translates across all the different, age ranges. I mean, it makes sense that it should always be a little bit on the lower side of the total population age range because people should be buying their homes and then holding on to them. They shouldn't be buying them, necessarily later in life because if you are, you're really taking a chance, right? If you wait, you're taking a chance. It might work for you, it might work against you. But if you can get something that you can afford and you can build your life plan and your finances and your financial plan and your retirement plan around that, then you have some control. At least there's an element of control there. So we and these numbers are pretty staggering, by the way. I'll post we'll actually tweet out at Mr. Credit. Will tweet out the article here at CNBC.com, and you can look at the full range of data that they give. But it's staggering. I mean, it used to be 3 years ago, home ownership was number one by a mile. This is the same group of people. They're interviewing the same age range of folks, the millennials. So 3 years ago, 47% of them, number one on their list was buying a house. Now that's down to less than 20%, and retirement savings is almost 30%. So it has changed within that particular group of people. Well, keep in mind, that's the group of people right now that we need to be wanting to buy houses. So if they're getting away from that for whatever reason, that could potentially be what's not only slows down the housing market, but slows down the overall economy. It's crazy to think that one thing could have such a huge impact on the financial markets and really the economy overall. But I think it might be, Melissa.
I wonder if it's somehow tied in with technology because, of course, I know that I'm generalizing, but it seems that the most savvy technology users also fit into that group of millennials, so they can do so much more remotely that they don't need to be tied to one location. So I wonder if the increase in our use of technology throughout the world is somehow tied into those numbers and statistics.
Yeah, that would make sense. Or just the overall flow. Because, you have people flowing in and out of places where they live, flowing in and out of jobs, and a lot of that is based around technology. In the past, it was pretty simple, right? We talked about the Great Depression, Well, at that point in time, and this is honestly my biggest fear, is that we're getting to a point where you have to be rich to own a house, or only the wealthy are going to be property owners, which is the way it was. If you go back into the, let's say the 1800s or early 1900s, that's the way it was. The average person didn't own anything. They were completely, at the mercy of whatever the rent was, and that's why there was a lot of really poor, a lot of poverty. Basically, a lot of people were very, very poor, and then there were people who were very, very rich. Now, we've had this great American boom, and if you just go back to, starting in the 50s even, when it really started kicking and people started owning homes. And I think about my grandpa and the house that he bought that he still lives in, which they bought back in the late 40s. And he's owned free and clear for decades. But I think he bought that house for right around $20,000, which was probably
Nice house.
Yeah, a huge amount of money back then. And now it's in middle of nowhere, Missouri, but it's probably worth $150,000. So I think back to that and I go, all right, well, is this where we're headed? Because if it's the case that it's just going to be a game of the wealthy, real estate can probably survive and even continue to grow in price. But what we're not going to have, because remember, it's a supply-demand situation. We don't have the demand, so therefore the supply has to be pulled back. And so there's not as much opportunity. It's just like anything else. When they first come up with, a piece of really good technology, it's super expensive. Once they're able to figure out how to sell it to everybody, it becomes really cheap. Well, the same thing kind of happened with real estate, but are we regressing, do you think, here, Guy?
I don't know that we're regressing. I think we're just going through a cycle sort of like we always have. You know.
Okay.
I'm just sort of wondering if maybe this generation that you're talking about didn't see the bloodletting and be part of it that happened recently, and if they're just sort of unsure about what to do now, and then they'll do sort of the herd mentality, and as they see that it makes sense to be homeowners again, they'll all start sort of like jumping back in.
Yeah, maybe they could be traumatized. That's possible. I mean, if these kids saw their parents go through major stress, if they saw, really tough psychological circumstances, if they had to experience any of that or any of that stress got pushed off them, they very well could put owning home in the box in their brain that's like, don't go there.
It's
not a good
dangerous
thing.
place.
Yeah, it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That could be happening too, Melissa.
If tides are tipping, like you say, and it's becoming more exclusive between that and the really tight lending guidelines we have for the lower and middle income people, what does that say about how our whole nation, I guess this is speaking to your point, is really going to change? I mean, other countries such as Mexico, and India, I believe, really there's haves and have-nots, and the haves own property and the have-nots don't. And we've always, glorified our middle class. And what's that really going to say about how our class system is changing within the United States?
Well, that's the big issue, because you look at the next article here from CNBC.com where they say in the first quarter of the year, we're talking macro still, okay? I want to make sure everyone's aware of that, in the United States of America. First quarter of the year, 43% of all home buyers were all cash transactions, which means there was no financing. People were writing checks. I'm assuming they're not bringing in duffel bags of money, right? People are writing checks or wiring in money for the full amount of the property they're purchasing. That doesn't sound like the average American to me. I mean, who is this? Is it foreigners? Investors? Is it Wall Street? It's not the average American that's owning real estate in that situation. It's just not. Now, people might say, well, yeah, a lot of those are flippers, and they're going to end up selling those homes to end users and average people. Are they? I don't know. Because when you look at, cash-on-cash returns, we've been saying this forever, people should buy investment properties because they're such a great investment. Well, guess what? Wall Street gets a hold of that idea. And if it's a great investment for you and me, it's a great investment for them too. So will Wall Street own all of America eventually? Is that possible? I don't know. But I do know this. It sure seems like it's headed in that direction. And to me, I don't like it. Thoughts?
I just sort of wonder if, again, if there's just a bigger gap being created, and we're losing that middle class, and the middle class requires financing.
Yeah.
And then again, with the banks, with the tighter underwriting guidelines that they're currently having, and they're starting to loosen up, and of course that will happen, right? There's sort of not an abundance of mortgage financing with the low down options, so it could be driven by that.
What is there is very
things.
Expensive. Yeah, the FHA stuff has gotten so expensive. It's crazy. You look at a principal and interest payment, and you go, oh, I can afford that. And then you go, oh, taxes, oh, insurance, oh, mortgage insurance, oh, HOA. I'm out of the game. I can't get in. I mean, maybe I could have afforded this if it was just taxes and insurance, but you throw in the mortgage insurance and the upfront premiums, and then now you're telling me there's an HOA or a Mellow Roofs fee. My goodness. Oy vey, right?
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a good moment to say that. And it just came out. So anyway, there's a lot that's changing, and it's happening right in front of our faces, and trying to figure out what color this chameleon is changing into is tough. But I think the only way we're going to even have a clue is to talk about it. Coming up, I want to talk about what I think in real estate is the absolute number one most important thing for any consumer who's looking to buy or sell a home should know. Stick around. We'll make you smarter than everyone else.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Are you or a loved one active in the military? If so, I have great news. Hi, Mr. Credit here. My personal wellness coach, Dr. Brian Austin, who has helped me transform my physical health to be completely free from chronic pain I dealt with all my life, is now one of the few chiropractors in Southern California that is fully approved to accept TRICARE. Now it's even easier for active duty military members to prevent and treat all physical ailments in a natural and holistic fashion by treating the cause of the ailments and not just the symptoms with chemicals and medications. Call Dr. Brian at 858-324-4767. That's 858-324-4767. And let him know Mr. Credit sent you. That's 858-324-4767 to schedule your first visit, which is 100% free. That's 858-324-4767 or go to drbrianaustin.com. Healthcare reform is here. How are the new laws going to affect you, your family, or your business? It's okay, I don't expect you to know the answers, but I do know where you can get them. Call Craig Gussin with Auerbach & Gussin. He is a certified health reform specialist, and he can answer all of your questions. 858-546-4101. Don't be in the dark. It's too important. Call 858-546-4101. That's 858-546-4101 to get all of your health care reform questions answered for free. When a loved one passes away, your life suddenly changes. Questions come up like, what now? Where are the important documents? What do we do? Listen, I can help. Contact my attorney, Jared Causa at Neil Diamond Law Firm, 619-238-1712. That's 619-238-1712. He can provide the tools and knowledge to help guide you through these life-changing events. Call 619-238-1712. That's 619-238-1712 today. Mention Mr. Credit for your free consultation.
Why does sales rep Jake Payne stay at La Quinta? Because only La Quinta sends Jake a ready-for-you alert the second his room is ready. So Jake knows exactly when he can check in and stretch out before the big meeting. And when Jake is feeling nimble, do you know what happens?
Here comes Jake. He goes right around the copy machine, crosses up the water cooler, and he makes the sale.
His presentation is a slam dunk, baby. La Quinta Inns and Suites is ready for you, so you'll be ready for business. The Ready For You alert only at LaQuinta.com.
Get ready for spring driving at CarQuest Auto Parts. Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner in the 5 1/4 ounce bottle is just $4.99. Buy a pair of CarQuest Exact Fit wiper blades and get a 16-ounce bottle of Duragloss Car Wash Concentrate free after mail-in rebate. See store for details. Now through May 31st at participating CarQuest locations. Great people, great products, great prices. CarQuest Auto Parts.
Because every day you strive to create opportunities in this prodigal land that is yours, no matter what your background is, you join many that, like yourself, struggle and work hard for the progress of your home that is Baja California. Baja California State Party. Baja California for the Baja Californians.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today it's Fastball Friday on ESPN Radio 1700.
All right, welcome back. It's Fastball Friday, your lunch hour. Mr. Credit here, guaranteeing to make you smarter than everyone else. We're streaming live on MrCredit.tv. We're taking questions through MrCredit.org. I have Guy Morgan in here from Guy Morgan's Real Estate Insight. He's the creator of the ZillowKiller.com. And no Zillows were harmed in the making of that website, by the way. For anyone who thinks I said Willow Killer, Willow's fine. We also have Melissa Zavala in the studio today from transaction911.com and shortsaleexpediter.com. Now, I think, personally, the most important piece of advice that I could give anyone who's looking to buy or sell a home is to use an area specialist as their representative. What I mean by that is the mistake people make is they sell their home in Carlsbad with a real estate agent that's a friend of a friend. Maybe they're an expert in Carlsbad, maybe they aren't. They buy a house in Chula Vista with the same real estate agent. There's no possible way that agent can be an expert in both markets. The best advice I can give you, use a Carlsbad expert to sell your house in Carlsbad. Use a Chula Vista expert to buy your house in the South Bay. Or even go to the next degree, which is what Guy Morgan is doing, and you and I really see eye to eye on this guy. You aren't just talking about area specialists. I mean, you're talking about neighborhood specialists.
Neighborhoods and subdivisions. Yeah, you really want to niche it down. you have to be active in the market every day, being out talking to the people, because real estate still is a local business. It happens in the trenches. And you have to have your finger on the pulse to really serve people at a high level and to understand the nuances. What are the best buyers? What are they looking for? You talk about pin-up buyer demand earlier. The only way you can know that is to be active in the market every single day.
And so you work in just a couple of specific markets, or neighborhoods, we should say.
That's right.
Subdivisions, where you really know everything about what's going on in those subdivisions. Tell me the specific advantages to using someone like yourself in that circumstance.
Well, can I give an actual example? Recent
Please.
one? Okay, so some folks cruised through an open house over the weekend, and they've got a list of several dozen properties that they sort of found on their own, which is what buyers are doing today.
Sure.
And ran it by their realtor down in Santee, and he says, yeah, great, if you see some of these you like, let me know, and I'll come up and show them to you. Well, they cruised into my open house, and I talked to them, and within, asking 3 or 4 direct questions and really digging down to what was important to them about buying a home, I was able to tell them the exact house in the subdivision on the street by address that fit their needs perfectly. They looked at the one home, and we wrote an offer on it for them, competed with other offers that were non-contingent. But at the end of the day, we won the day because the sellers recognized that me and my team know the market, we know the valuations, we know all the details and sort of details of selling homes there, from the homeowner association documents to everything. And so we were able to build trust and confidence with that home seller, and they chose our buyer's offer over the others.
Wow. So that just happened?
Just happened, yeah.
So what you get is not just expertise, for the overall market or the overall area, let's say, which might be, Carlsbad or Encinitas or whatever it is, but the actual neighborhood. Now, the other thing I would imagine that you probably are able to provide as an advantage to people who want to buy in that particular neighborhood, let's say, that you're an expert in, is that you'll probably know, you've talked to the homeowners there, who's maybe thinking about selling, the home in a year or two,
Sure.
or, stuff like some of that inside information that you could only get if you were truly focused on one particular area.
Sure. A lot of our transactions never hit online or the MLS. And that's because the mornings are spent prospecting for sellers, afternoons are spent doing open houses in the core markets, and then evenings are spent following up with prospects and doing appointments. And so we're able to identify sellers who want to sell, maybe now or maybe a few months from now, and oftentimes corral a buyer that we can bring to them before they ever put their home on the market.
Yeah. To me, this is the number one tip. Melissa, what do you think about area specialization?
Well, I think it's great. As Guy already said, 92% of home buyers begin their search on the internet, but it's those subtle nuances that Guy knows or that other real estate professionals know about their local market and how to navigate difficult situations within that market, or tips about the HOA, or just all that stuff that, despite the fact that there's a lot of information, really rich content on the internet, really only someone that is in the thick of it is going to be able to help them home buyer navigate. So I do think it's real important. And also knowing U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, I love the stats, don't I? I always have them. Stated that there are 422,000 full-time real estate professionals the last time they did their study. But there are 997,000 members of the National Association of Realtors. So what that means is that 57% of real estate professionals in the United States are not full-timers. So in addition to being a local specialist, you want to select a full-time professional because they're going to have so much more experience to navigate really tough waters.
I'll tell you, and it's not just about which home to buy. It's also about which one not to buy.
Oh.
You have an out-of-area agent, they're not going to be able to say, you don't want that one. The power line goes right through the backyard. You want to be able to play catch, or whatever it is that the thing is. There's usually a place like that with stigma in an area. You want to avoid it.
So there's a subdivision in my market that had a builder defect construction lawsuit 20 years ago. And so there was a blanket lawsuit. A lot of the homeowners got settlements, and a lot of them just bounced and just left the homes, right? Well, then, markets come along, as we know, and some people bought these homes, picked them up, and then subsequently they got foreclosed on by banks again, and banks have no duty for disclosure, as we know, right?
Yeah.
And so routinely once a month, somebody comes cruising through one of my properties that we have for sale, and they're an owner in there, and they're like, we bought this home from an agent, and it's defective. The agent didn't know it because they're from Encinitas or wherever.
Right.
And the bank had no duty to disclose. They close escrow, move in, and the neighbor always comes cruising over and goes, "Hey, did you know?" And that's how they found out. Or they find out.
How does the bank not have duty to disclose?
Well, they've never lived in the property.
Ah.
Right.
That's interesting.
As is, buyer beware.
Well, yeah, there are certain disclosures that don't need to be made if you've never lived in the property. At the same time, and not necessarily defending in the bank would never have had that information because there probably was no even direct communication between the seller losing him or borrower losing his or her home and that lender doing the foreclosure.
So this is the information that Guy would know in his area.
Absolutely.
You don't want to touch these things with a 10-foot pole. Don't even look at them.
At least do your diligence. Know what you're getting.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you can bring that up in a negotiation.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do find that right house, all right, there's a defect. We need to, do a double check with our inspection. Make sure we're good to go. Maybe you can actually find a deal in a situation like that.
Well, absolutely. I mean, everything's bought and sold based on value. That's what people are looking for. And so it's part of the equation,
Yeah.
Is it defective? Okay, then what's it going to take to cure it?
Right. And everything's curable. It just comes with a price tag.
That's right.
Do you have something you want to add, Melissa?
I did. HOAs generally would have that information to disclose. So I don't know if specific to your area, if it was not in an HOA, but if someone's getting a loan, then the lender's going to be checking the HOA documentation anyway. So that stuff might come up in that sort of process. But a cash buyer in an REO situation where REO doesn't need to disclose and there does not need to be that deep lender study of the HOA before making the loan on the home, that's where it might fall through the cracks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense too. And the average home buyer, I mean, think about how there's just no way they could possibly know to think about something like that.
No.
There's just no way. And, when I bought my first house, I remember my mom, she wouldn't let me go look at a house without her being there. She had to make sure there was no power lines and, and all these little things like that. And what it really taught me was had nothing to do with me, but people buy for their own reasons. Simple. And I mean, not just real estate, any and everything. People buy for their own reasons, not yours when you're the seller. It doesn't matter what you're selling. And so their own reasons don't have to make sense.
That's right.
And it don't have to be right. They don't have to be logical. They don't have to be savvy.
Right.
So, in your profession, Guy, you have a fiduciary obligation, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of people just don't take it that seriously. But in my opinion, if you are practicing real estate, you really need to focus and hone in on specific areas that you're an expert in. That's how you're going to be able to provide the absolute best information and the best service to your clients. And I know we've been through some tough real estate times in the last 5 or 6 years, and I know a lot of people have gotten into the going wherever the referral takes me mode.
Right.
But I don't think it's what's best for the consumer. And so, I try as hard as I can to make people aware of the fact that, hey, listen, no matter where you're looking in San Diego, somebody is an expert in that area. Somebody knows that area like the back of their hand. Somebody lives there probably and knows everybody and knows that there might be that deal that you will never see. If you're just looking on the MLS, if you're just on Realtor.com, really, you're not going to find these properties. And that also, by the way, is how a lot of really good deals take place off the market. And a lot more so here in San Diego maybe than anywhere else. By the way, that is Guy Morgan from Guy Morgan's Real Estate Insight. He's creator of the ZillowKiller.com. No one is actually killed by this website. Zillow is just a website that gives people what I would consider to be sketchy information about what their properties are worth. Guy tells you actually how much your properties are worth. You can go to the ZillowKiller.com to find out for yourself. All right, coming up, we've got more real estate discussion to make you smarter than everyone else. Melissa Zavala with Transaction911.com will educate you, me, all of us at the same time. Stick around.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, over 90 million people in the U.S. own mutual funds. Now, I wonder how many of those people have read all the fine print associated with those investments. The good news is you don't have to figure it out on your own. Let me introduce you to Dan Osgood. Dan is a certified financial planner and actually a friend. Through his website, freeinvestmentaudit.com, he will do a free risk and cost analysis for any investment portfolio you have. This free analysis will find all the hidden fees and uncover the missing money from your investments. Most people don't think they're paying any fees at all, but trust me, you definitely are. The question is, how much in fees are you paying for the investments you have? If you have a retirement account or a bond portfolio of any kind, go to freeinvestmentaudit.com right now and get your free analysis. You deserve to know what your investments are really costing you. Freeinvestmentaudit.com. That's freeinvestmentaudit.com. That's freeinvestmentaudit.com.
Hi, Mr. Credit here. As a consumer, you have the right to choose what company provides closing services when you buy or refinance a home. Many people never know about this choice, so I'm here to make you smarter than everyone else. When it comes to your biggest investment, the home you live in, ask for Lawyers, Title, and Escrow. They have been providing closing services for real estate transactions in San Diego for decades. Just remember, you have the right to choose, and I choose Lawyers, Title, and Escrow.
Napa know-how. Grab a Napa bucket for $2.99, and everything you fit in it is 20% off. What can you fit in the bucket? A radiator? No. 10 oil filters and 756 pine tree air fresheners? With some elbow grease, maybe. Get your Napa bucket today and save 20% off everything you pack in it. Conquer the job with Napa know-how. Some exclusions apply at participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 5/31/14.
Great oil and filter specials at CarQuest Auto Parts. Get 5 quarts of Valvoline Premium or Next Gen conventional motor oil and a CarQuest red oil filter for just $19.99. Upgrade to 5 quarts of Valvoline synthetic motor oil and a Bosch premium filter for just $31.99. See store for full details. Now through May 31st at participating CarQuest locations. Great people, great products, great prices. CarQuest Auto Parts.
Go to CarQuest and roll on.
This is John Feinstein with a CBS Sports Minute brought to you by Quicken Loans for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze. Whenever Richard Sherman opens his mouth, people should listen. Earlier this week, Sherman told Time magazine that he didn't think Roger Goodell would abandon NFL owner for life, as NBA Commissioner Adam Silver did in the wake of Donald Sterling's racist comments 2 weeks ago. Sherman pointed out that, quote, it says a whole lot about Goodell that he and the NFL's other 31 owners continue to allow Daniel Snyder's team to play under the name Redskins. Sherman said one other thing that rang true, that the NFL is unlikely to do anything about the name until it affects the league's bottom line. Because American Indians lack the numbers or the political or financial clout of African Americans, the threat to the NFL's bottom line isn't there. Yet. I'm John Feinstein.
As a home buyer in today's fast-paced real estate market, you need a competitive edge. You need an advantage that helps your offer stand out from the rest. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I'm excited to tell you how to get just the edge you're looking for as a home buyer. This brand new program is called Mortgage First, and it's exclusively from Quicken Loans. With Mortgage First, the name really says it all. Unlike a pre-approval, we'll verify your assets, income, and credit to underwrite you up front, giving you the upper hand on the competition before you even start shopping. As a strong, confident buyer, you can stay focused on finding the right place for you and your family, knowing you're approved by Quicken Loans. To learn more about Mortgage First, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That number again is 800-QUICKEN. That's 800-QUICKEN.
Restrictions apply. Rate terms and conditions may change until final loan approval. This is not an offer to lend. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today it's Fastball Friday on ESPN Radio 1700.
All right, welcome back. Fastball Friday. Balls are getting thrown so fast that I get confused myself sometimes. I didn't even know what we were going to talk about next. There's so many great topics on the table. But I tell you, Melissa, we're talking about due diligence today for the most part, which is just kind of basic stuff around. These are the things you really should do if you want to have the best real estate buying or selling experience here in San Diego. One of those things we've talked about in detail is like HOAs and all the documents that go along with that and what you can and can't do with an HOA. But there are other things as well that you deal a lot with, transaction911.com. You're obviously in the heat of these transactions with regard to, let's say, inspections, disclosures, etc. What do people really need to know about all that stuff?
Well, first of all, the average transaction has between 35 and 55 different documents or contracts that are required for a Bureau of Real Estate compliant file. So, and a number of those are related after the purchase contract is signed. There are all sorts of disclosures that the seller needs to make to the buyer so that the buyer really understands all of the different aspects of the home purchase. So one form, which is the most common form used across California, is called the Transaction Disclosure Statement. And in that form, the seller is supposed to disclose to the buyer any material fact that might change their mind related to the purchase of the property. But if you're like me and you go to a property and it's awesome, and it's got this great view, and you close your eyes at night and you think about where you're going to put your couch or your bed or where the kids are going to play, then when you get the TDS, the Transfer Disclosure Statement, you maybe don't pay attention to some of those really important things which you need to be clued into and may be very, may impact your home buying experience.
Give us an example of something that someone might see in that disclosure.
Rat infestation, previous rat infestation, a previous water damage, previous, a fire on an interior wall, all of that stuff maybe has been repaired.
Is this where someone would have to put down someone was murdered in this house? Something like that?
Yeah, there are certain, I can't remember all the dates, but you have all of these different situations, death, certain kinds of death, certain periods of time related to death and things like that. Yes. So we actually had one come through our office, which not the current owner, but the previous owner was involved in some sort of murder situation, and the police had gone out 2 owners ago and removed a body from underneath some cement. So
are you serious?
So the owner was great though, and he had all the documentation, and believe it or not, we found a buyer in 2 weeks on that property. So that was, but this is stuff that the buyer was told up front, the buyer, but it could be much more subtle stuff than a body in cement that was exhumed from a property. It could be really, really subtle stuff about water damage, which could linger over and over. When I resided in Massachusetts many years ago, for example, our house had these things called ice dams. So when it snowed, it created so much snow on the roof and ice on the roof, the water underneath got warm like a blanket. The ice underneath would warm up like a blanket and melt into water and then drip into the upstairs bathroom. So, this is something that can creep up over and over again. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to be aware of. You want to pay a real good attention to that home inspection, and don't just close your eyes at night and think about your furniture, but think about, I'm going to be in this home for a while, and I really don't want to be paying thousands and thousands of dollars to fix these kinds of things.
And for stuff like that, you're counting on your inspector a lot, right? To really point out how those things work in that particular area.
So there's a home inspection, and you can get all sorts of other specific inspections, a pool inspection, a roof inspection. Certain parts of the United States, they do radon inspections for radon gas, and there are almost 30 different kinds of inspections that you can hire people to do. I know some of the local inspectors even have something, they can put something on the wall to measure moisture. They can look at the pipes with a camera. So all sorts of really deep stuff to make sure there's no branches going into the underground plumbing. So you want to do definitely a physical home inspection and a pool inspection and possibly a roof inspection. But you can also get a home warranty, and that's a really great thing to get, which would cover the property for a year. And usually the seller will purchase that for the buyer, in which case there's a deductible of $50 or $60 to get someone to come out and fix a leaky toilet or fix the refrigerator, things like that.
And those inspections are usually very thorough. You're going to get probably more information than you wanted to know in those inspections. And the other thing is, don't just get it, just acquire the knowledge, but make sure you apply it somehow. I mean, if there's a lot of stuff in there, even if it's a lot of little stuff, you can go back to the negotiating table sometimes with that.
And often I think people do go back to the negotiating table. We see a lot of requests for repairs, which is a separate document. So the homeowner has 17 days to remove the inspection disclosure in the traditional contract unless another time frame's been negotiated. And so usually they get their inspection within the first week, and then they think long and hard about what do I want the seller to fix. And then they can make a list. Generally it's health and safety related issues. They can negotiate, and if they can't arrive at some common ground, then they might part ways at no financial consequences to either party.
That's Melissa Zavala, by the way, from transaction911.com and shortsaleexpediter.com. In both cases, she's got her hands all over these transactions, so she knows them inside and out. And this due diligence period of 17 days. I heard Little Birdie told me that that's changing, that the standards for California are changing to 21 days for maybe it's for just for financing. But is that enough time? I mean, it sounds like a long time. You know, it goes by pretty quickly, though, right? I mean, that gets up on people fast.
That does get up on people fast. And when I consult with agents, the minute they get a fully accepted offer, I say, pick up the phone, work with your buyer, make all your appointments, call the lender, because you need to get all those people in 5 to 7 days, so you have another 10 days or so. And even if it is increased to 21, to negotiate all these little things. And you might have to go back to the inspector and ask for more information. Or maybe the termite inspector is not available for 8 days, you know, so you've got to move quickly. You've got to hustle. So again, using a local area expert that knows some local folks that can help you and bring those people in really does make a big difference. And he or she might have some influence, the local expert, in getting an inspector in at the last minute if necessary.
That's actually a really good point. And Guy, we didn't even touch on that, but the local area expert probably works with other, service providers like inspectors, or like plumbers or whoever it is that might be needed to come look at something, who are also local, who can tell you, oh, yeah, these houses over here in this neighborhood, yeah, they tend to have termites. So we're going to do a really thorough termite inspection. We're going to dig, 3-foot hole here and or whatever. But they'll also know those same inside things about those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a little different perspective on the whole, home inspections and time frames and that sort of stuff. And, we absolutely insist, representing sellers, that we keep these things, and buyers too, that we keep these dates to absolute minimums. I mean, the pre-printed dates that are in the car forms are a little silly, if you ask me, a little goofy.
You think they're too long?
Way too long, because the seller has all the risk in a real estate transaction. When they take their home off the market and they're waiting for the buyers to do their diligence, they've now eliminated the opportunity to have the home shown to other, potential buyers, right? So, like in our transaction checklist, we have a lot of things that have to happen in the first 24 hours, okay? HOA docs ordered, okay? Home inspection scheduled. We want that home inspection completed within 72 hours. And then on the negotiating and the repairs, we allow about 2 days. That's it. In other words, we want to find out if this buyer is going to buy this home or not within the first 3 to 5 days. And so at the same time, we insist that the appraisal be scheduled and ordered immediately. A lot of times buyer's agents will try and sort of do these things linearly, right?
One at a time.
One at a time, yeah. And we don't do that. We want them all done right now so that we know that the buyer's invested, they've got skin in the game, and that they're going to perform in the contract. Going to what you're talking about having the local professionals, yeah. A few years ago, there's a big push to get your home inspection license. It was a big thing, and there are a lot of inspectors running around that I think are less than competent. And so, we always make sure that we use licensed general contractors with a lot of experience. And, I'm talking 25, 30 years construction experience type of guys who've done thousands of these inspections. And they do know every make, model, floor plan in the subdivisions in which we work, They can walk in, they say, yeah, this home has polybutylene plumbing. It was built in this year, and, they just know them like the back of their hand.
Yeah, well, there's a huge advantage to having that inside knowledge. You're giving me more debate topics for later about the time frames. Makes sense though. I mean, when you really think about it,
we run tight contracts.
The seller is taking all the risk. I mean, especially when the buyer does have 17 days to get out scot-free, to walk away scot-free. That is time on the seller side.
Not in our world.
That does make sense. That does make sense. We will debate it another day, because what's coming up next is what is bound to be a very heated edition of Agree or disagree. It's your lunch hour, Mr. Credit, ESPN 1700, where we're making you smarter than everyone else. We'll be right back.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
The best part about being smarter than everyone else is that we don't have to listen to all the talking heads. We don't have to listen to all the rumors and all the graybeards who think they know how this stuff really works. The law is on your side. That's right. The laws are designed to protect consumers from being riddled with debt. They're designed that way so that you can become debt-free and get a fresh start. You should do what I did. When I had financial stress, I called William McDonald with the McDonald Legal Group. Find out how you can use the law to your advantage. Delete your debt and keep your stuff. You got credit card debt, timeshares, old IRS debt, collections, medical bills. Any of this stuff can be wiped away with the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and it only takes 100 days. Call William McDonald today. 800-997-1235. 800-997-1235, or go online, SanDiegoBankruptcy.us. Have you been selected for an audit by the IRS? Do you owe the IRS money and want to find a way to settle your account as quickly and easily as possible? Hi, Mr. Credit here. Listen, I had the IRS come knocking on my door over $600, which I didn't even owe them, as it turns out. I know how scary this stuff can be. The good news is I know exactly what to do. My tax attorney, Jeffrey Kahn, is board certified and works only on tax-related issues. He understands how the IRS works and how to make the most of each situation. And get this, mention Mr. Credit when you call and get a free consultation and a tax resolution plan. $500 value, absolutely free. Call Jeffrey Kahn today at 866-494-6829. That's 866-494-6829 today, and get these tax issues behind you as quickly as possible. 866-494-6829. That's 866-494-6829.
Mother's Day is here. Today is your very last chance to send the moms in your life something special from the Mother's Day collection at 1-800-Flowers.com. If you forgot to order all your Mother's Day flowers from 1-800-Flowers, there's still time if you do it now. Today only. 1-800-Flowers.com is offering my listeners $10 off a special Mother's Day collection. These are truly original Mother's Day arrangements like Fields of Europe just for mom. Handcrafted with fresh roses, lilies, carnations, regularly $39.99. Now you save $10. It's under $30 at $29.99. Listen, it's not too late to send mom an amazing arrangement in time for Mother's Day and save $10 in the process. Mom's never going to know you waited until the last minute, but you need to order right now. To get $10 off the Mother's Day collection available today only, go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or your mobile device. Click the radio microphone in the upper right-hand corner and enter SVP. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter SVP, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention SVP. Make it a happy Mother's Day.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today it's Fastball Friday on ESPN Radio 1700.
All right, welcome back to a Fastball Friday. Mr. Credit here. Guy Morgan in the studio from Guy Morgan's Real Estate Insight, creator of the ZillowKiller.com, which is a website where you can go find out what your property is really worth. Melissa Zavala is also in the studio today from Transaction911.com and ShortSaleExpediter.com. I have been wanting to do this agree or disagree for so long that my head has almost exploded. I'm so glad that we get to do it right now. Drones. Most people hear the word drone and they think, isn't that what our military uses so that pilots don't have to risk their lives? Yes. What I'm talking about, though, is the drones that the average person can buy, not a $10 million drone. I'm talking about a $2,000 drone, which is basically a fancy version of those little helicopters they sell in CVS for $10. A much fancier version. These drones have become very popular in real estate. A lot of real estate agents are using these drones. They're buying them themselves, having their husbands or wives fly them around the properties and things like that, or they're hiring other companies who use these drones and fly around to get video, from an elevated video, unique video of these properties that they can list them and sell them. So here is the statement. Agree or disagree, drones, which have become very popular in the real estate world these days, should be outlawed. Guy Morgan.
Well, I'm not in favor of outlawing many things, honestly. But I think that people just have to be very cautious with their use because they can be a hazard to airborne craft, other airplanes.
You're a pilot.
I am instrument-rated pilot. Yeah.
So, agree or disagree? Drones should be outlawed.
Well, I don't think they should be outlawed. I think they just have to be managed. And people
So disagree.
Right.
I pry it out of you. Melissa Zavala.
Well, they currently are outlawed, right? So the FAA says no commercial use of drones. So are you saying, do I agree or disagree with the law?
The statement.
Okay. I think that there needs to be some parameters set. So I agree, but I think there needs to be some limitations because there could be security and privacy issues, and they could be a danger in certain situations as well.
So you also disagree because you're not telling me that you think they should be outlawed.
Did I say agree? I'm spacing out.
No, you didn't say either one.
Okay.
I don't think. But you
I disagree.
You think they should be regulated.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that for
No
me.
problem.
It's Friday afternoon.
Hey, it's all good. So, all right. So you believe they should be regulated. Guy, are you in the same boat there? You just think they just need to be regulated more heavily, like normal aircraft?
Yeah, I think we have to see the extent of their use. I mean, how many of them are in the air? I love Amazon's delivery service. I mean, it's the whole concept of getting things dropped off on your doorstep by a drone is just like crazy good, right?
Yeah.
But I do know as a private pilot that like bird strikes are very, very dangerous, and a bird in even the slowest aircraft cruising on the along the coast in San Diego, if you're doing 120 miles or knots, right? A bird looks like a speck until it hits you, and so they're virtually invisible to aircraft in flight. Drones are. And I like to go down the cove. I'm a cove swimmer, and I see people take these things down there, and they zip them up to 500 feet and out onto the coastline, and shoot back and take video, looking towards the Ellen Scripps Browning Park and so forth. That's right where helicopters cruise through there.
Totally.
And it's a very dangerous situation, to be sure.
And that is exactly why I agree with this statement. Not only should they be outlawed, I mean, these things should be as illegal as narcotics, in my opinion. Not only should we not have them, they should not be allowed to be manufactured. They should not be allowed to be possessed. And I'll tell you why. They are far too dangerous. Not just from that standpoint, Guy. Not just from the standpoint of the kid who gets a hold of daddy's drone and flies it onto the highway and causes an 8-car pileup. Not just in that regard. Or the poor pilot who's flying a Cessna, hits one of these things and stalls, 1,000 feet above the ocean and has no chance. Not just for that reason either, but for the simple fact that, I live 2 blocks away from Petco Park. If I went and I got a big daddy, drone, I could attach an IED to that thing and fly it right into Petco Park, no problem. It would take a very short amount of time, and it would be very easy to execute. There are too many people who would take advantage of that, in my opinion, if we allow these things to exist here in any fashion. It's not just too dangerous for the accidents. It's too dangerous for the calculated, terrorists and people who, want to do harm. It makes it too easy for them to not even have to be present in order to detonate a bomb. We saw what happened with the Boston Marathon bombing last year. Those guys had to actually be there. They had to be present in order to execute that plan. With a drone, they wouldn't have to. And even if it was regulated by the FAA, keep in mind these things can take off from your back porch. You don't need a runway. It's much more difficult to regulate something that doesn't have to go through a tower to get in the air. How are you going to regulate it? You're going to have to radio in, hey, I'm taking off from the backyard. No one's going to know what's going on. You can't manage something like that. It's chaos. Look at the traffic patterns in Ethiopia. That's what it would be with drones. No lines on the road and no lights and no signs, nothing, just a road that's 10 cars wide and people going every which direction. We can't have it. That's chaos. People would be spying on people. People would be, there's just, you can't do it. These drones have got to go. Now, I agree. It's a really cool technology. I would love to fly one of these drones. You know, I used to fly planes for a long time. It's fun. It's great. I want to learn how to fly helicopters. These things are too dangerous. We don't even want to go there. All right. That's it for today. Really big thanks to our in-studio guest, Melissa Zavala. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
You are amazing. Congratulations on the new gig writing
Thanks a
for
lot.
Trulia. And Guy Morgan from Guy Morgan's Real Estate Insight and the ZillowKiller.com. Guy, appreciate you being here.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic stuff. Taylor, you did a great job running the show today. I've got to catch a plane, but we'll be back again on Monday at noon to make you smarter than everyone else. We'll see you then.
If you would like to contact Mr. Credit or access any free offers mentioned on the show, just go to mrcredit.org. That's mrcredit.org.
There are a lot of reasons why people buy real estate, but for most of us, the real reason you want to own a home is so you can one day not have a housing payment. No rent, no mortgage. That's the American dream. You might not think you qualify to buy a house, but you'd be surprised, especially if you're in the military or VA eligible. Just call John Jarotz with Guaranteed Rate. He's been a top 1% originator in the United States for the past 2 years, and he's from right here in San Diego. Go to AskJJ.